Welcome to our Daily Bread. I'm Sister Barbara Ciarico, and I'm sitting here in the front pew at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton's Church in Dunkirk, New York. The reason I stopped here is because I've heard so much about the beauty of the church, and I had never seen it before. And as I look around, it is truly magnificent. But I really need to get over to the rectory kitchen and meet the pastor, Father Tom Wopperer, who will be doing the cooking. So why don't you join me? Father Tom, thank you so much for welcoming us to your parish.
Well, Sister, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Thank you. Now, I was thinking about the soup that we were making today. This is soup, am I not right?
Right. Liver dumpling soup, we call it.
Okay. What would that's a German dish, right?
Yes, Leberkäse soup.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll stick to the liver dumpling. I'll never be able to say that. Well, tell me now about what goes into the making of the soup. What do we have here?
Well, we've got our liver here, which is ground up. And by the way, we started some years ago. My sister began this. My sister Dorothy. She began to make this with chicken liver rather than beef liver, and we all liked it so much we all make it out of chicken liver now.
So is it your sister who taught you how to do this?
Well, yes, she did.
But
yes.
Originally it comes from your mother,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. So you buy your chicken liver. You get a container like this in the grocery store. It's about a little over a pound. You grind that up, and you grind up 2 containers of crackers, so you get them into crumbs. Now you add the crumbs to the chicken liver, and then we want to stir that. And to that, we're also going to add, a good size onion, you know.
And this is it here?
This is minced onion. We're going to add that to it. And we'll mix all that together. And then we're going to add some salt and pepper and some baking powder.
Well, I do
Make
recognize
the dumplings a little bit light.
I do recognize the salt and
Yes.
pepper.
Okay, so we'll add a little bit of pepper here,
And then
a little bit of salt,
And this is baking soda, is that what you said?
baking powder.
Baking powder.
Just a pinch of that. And also we have here parsley, which is cut up. We're going to add that to the mix here, and we're going to try to put all that now together.
And what's this one thing that I see here?
Well, eventually we're going to be making dumplings with this. We're going to roll them in our hands, and then we're going to put that into chicken stock. So this is just a little something I always add. This is a chicken base. I add this to the chicken stock just to give it a little bit more flavor.
Is that the way it comes, like a paste? Almost,
Yes, yes. It's similar to a bouillon cube, only it's in a paste form. Now, what we want to do is mix this all together. You know, one of the problems with people trying to make this soup is that when they put their dumplings into the broth, they fall apart. Well, the solution to that is simply to add more cracker crumbs. I make about 10 containers of this. When we have our German Fest in October or September of the year, we have an Ethnic Foods Fest, German, and I have the soup and the salad bar.
Oh, I see.
So I have to make quite a bit of this. But it doesn't take too long. Once you get onto it, it's pretty good. And many people say they turn their nose up at liver, but I say, try it. You'll like it. You'll like it. Okay, sister, maybe you could bring over the kettle of the broth.
All right.
Now, I find it helpful when I do this is to wet my hands. That makes it easier to make these dumplings. And this is all you do. You just roll them in your hand like that, about that size is kind of good, and drop them in. And this is all we do. We just keep making these. And
Oh, it seems like And yours are staying together. Now the test is when I put mine in, whether it stays together.
Oh, I think it'll stay together. I think we hit the right consistency.
Good.
But like I say, it's very simple if you don't. If they break apart, if you see that they're breaking apart, just add a little bit more cracker crumb.
I see.
It means the whole mix is too moist.
Now, how long is it going to take for all of this to cook?
Well, I would say we bring this to a boiling, and probably about a half hour to 45 minutes. Let them simmer, so that the dumplings get cooked through.
I see. And then that's finished, right?
That'll be it. Yes.
Good.
We serve it if you wish. I like to serve it with either crackers or some very sour rye. Very good with sour rye.
That sounds good to me. Very good. As we finish rolling the dumplings, we're going to take a break. We have a lot more to do, so we'll be right back. Welcome back. As you can see, Father Tom is putting the finishing touches on his soup, and you know you can't rush perfection. So this would be a good time to listen to the historical piece about St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, who's the patroness of this parish.
The inspirational story of our nation's first American-born saint begins on August 28th, 1774, with her birth in New York City. Elizabeth was the daughter of Dr. Richard Bailey, a physician, and the first professor of anatomy at King's College, now Columbia University, and his wife Catherine, the daughter of an Episcopalian rector from Staten Island. The Baileys were devout Episcopalians and respected members of New York society. Elizabeth and her younger sister Mary enjoyed a life of privilege. Unfortunately, when Elizabeth was only 3 years old, her mother died. Dr. Bailey remarried not long after, and Elizabeth developed a genuine affection for her stepmother and 7 stepbrothers and sisters. Elizabeth's education was provided by her father. Her notebooks reveal a strong interest in religious studies and history. Elizabeth loved to read, and though she read all the popular works of the time, her favorite books were the Bible, the Lives of the Saints, and The Imitation of Christ. Elizabeth grew in grace, intelligence, and beauty, and eventually caught the eye of a young, wealthy merchant named William McGee Seton. William was a first-generation American of English parentage. Like Elizabeth, he was a devout Episcopalian. On January 25th, 1794, Elizabeth and William were married, and the first 8 years of their marriage were happy and prosperous. William worked in the family shipping business, and Elizabeth busied herself raising the couple's children, Anna Maria, William, Richard, Catherine, and Rebecca. Also during this time, Elizabeth developed a special relationship with her sister-in-law, Rebecca, and the two undertook many charitable endeavors together. One of them being the founding of a society to assist widows with young children. They were even called the Protestant Sisters of Charity for the various good works they performed. Unfortunately for the Setons, just when their happy, prosperous life together was gaining momentum, life in post-revolutionary America began to deal them one blow after another. First, the family business, for various reasons, began to founder. Then, William's father died, leaving William not only in charge of the failing family business, but in charge of 7 half-brothers and sisters as well. Soon, William's health began to fail, and he contracted tuberculosis. Around the same time, Elizabeth's father died of yellow fever. Doctors of the time felt a change of climate benefited those suffering from tuberculosis. So the Seton family doctors recommended that William go to Italy. The Seton firm had friends in Livorno, so William and Elizabeth decided to sail for that city. Only Anna Maria, their oldest child, accompanied them. Once in Italy, however, they were placed in quarantine due to the yellow fever that was rampant in New York. The quarantine building was cold, damp, and not at all therapeutic for William. 8 days after the family's release from quarantine, William died of tuberculosis. Elizabeth always had a strong sense of the will of God, and this is what helped her through the many moments of sorrow in her life. Elizabeth decided to remain in Italy until the following summer. During that time, she experienced the hospitality and Catholic spirituality of her husband's business friends, the Felicis. Through this, she developed a strong attraction for the Catholic faith, and the Felicis provided great support during her quest for the true faith. When Elizabeth returned to New York in the summer of 1804, she knew in her heart that the Catholic faith provided something missing in Episcopalianism, and she decided to convert. The decision shocked and dismayed her family and high society friends. In fact, her relatives cut off financial aid to Elizabeth and her family and generally ostracized them. Despite all this, Elizabeth joined the Catholic Church in 1805. Elizabeth's conversion left her with little means to support her family. A couple early attempts to teach school failed when rumors were spread that Elizabeth would try to convert all the children to Catholicism. Fortunately, one day, Elizabeth met Father William Dubourg, the rector of St. Mary's Seminary in Baltimore. Father Dubourg was captivated by her story of conversion and asked her to come to Baltimore to teach. She accepted and opened St. Joseph's School for Girls. Soon, other women came to help her. Together, they realized they had a common mission and made plans to form a sisterhood. Through a wealthy benefactor, they were able to buy land in Emmitsburg, Maryland. And there they set up the first free Catholic school in America. Finally, on March 25, 1809, Elizabeth pronounced her vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. From that time on, she was known as Mother Seton. Not only was she mother to her religious sisters, but she still had the care of her 5 children, who all lived with her. A rule for the community was still needed, however, and it was decided to obtain the rule of St. Vincent de Paul's Daughters of Charity in France, since their mission was similar to that of the Americans. Archbishop Carroll of Baltimore formally approved this rule of sisterhood in January 1812, and Elizabeth was elected superior. Thus was formed the first religious community in the United States. Elizabeth led her new community well, always submissive to the will, as she called it. As Mother Seton, she experienced many joys and sorrows, from the openings of new schools and orphanages to the deaths of her sisters, one of whom was her 17-year-old daughter, Anna Maria, who died of tuberculosis. Through everything, Elizabeth's goal was not only to teach children the basics of education, but to reveal to them the mysteries of the Catholic faith as well. This became the legacy of the Sisters of Charity as the founders of the American parochial school system. Elizabeth would lose her 14-year-old daughter, Rebecca, to tuberculosis in 1816, before the family enemy, as she called it, would claim her as well in 1821. By the time of her death, her inspiration had led to the founding of nearly 24 sister communities around the U.S. Elizabeth's cause for sainthood was introduced in 1907 due to her sanctity and the far-reaching effects of her mission. Beatification came in 1963. In anticipation of her canonization in 1975, the governor of Maryland proclaimed 1974 as Seton Bicentennial Year. Elizabeth Ann Seton is truly a model saint for all Americans. Through the joys and sorrows of her life, she relied on the will of God to show her the way. She made service of others in God's name her focus. She demonstrated that the glory of God will always outshine the glory of wealth or social position, and she showed us that in preparing children for life, we must prepare them for heaven as well.
Elizabeth Ann Seton didn't have any extraordinary gifts. She was just an ordinary woman. And Father Tom, I understand that you have a great story to tell about the day she was canonized.
Yes, it was the very day that our parish here opened. The congregations of St. Mary's and Sacred Heart came together to form this new parish under this new saint, the very day she was canonized in Rome.
That had to be a great celebration.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Don't go far. Father Tom has another recipe to share. for coming back. Today we're here in the kitchen at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Parish with the pastor, Father Tom Wopperer. Tell me, Father, how's the soup coming?
Soup is almost done.
It is.
Just simmering now for about 45 minutes, and so it should be ready to be eaten any minute.
Now, in the meantime, I understand that you have another recipe, a German recipe. What would this be?
Well, this is, we're going to make salad with warm bacon dressing. And basically what we've got is we've cooked up some bacon, and we're going to, and then crumbled it up. We're going to add that to this now. Now, many times it's good also to add hard-boiled eggs. Hard-boiled eggs, so we'll add that in there.
It always adds a lot to a salad.
Yes. And recently I was at a restaurant, and, well, I'll tell you what it was. The Pillar and Post at Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Oh, yes.
Wonderful food, and they served this with Stilton cheese and pecans. So ever since going there, I always make this now. I add Stilton cheese and pecans to it.
Now, is Stilton cheese an American brand?
I think probably it's a Swiss cheese, made in Switzerland, but I'm not sure. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, and then I have to make my warm bacon dressing.
Before you do that, could you just tell me, I'm looking at different kinds of lettuce here. Do you use a particular kind, or do you just use...
Well, normally with warm bacon dressing, it would be endive, but I use whatever lettuce is around. If I've got iceberg and maybe some romaine, some radicchio, you can use anything. And you can put tomatoes in there, cucumbers. So you could use whatever you have around.
So now, how do you do the dressing? You're gonna make the dressing. That's really what you're doing.
Yes,
here,
I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to the bacon fat, I'm going to add some vinegar, and I find that the apple cider vinegar is probably the best. I would say that was about maybe 3 tablespoons. Now we need to add some sugar. I'll add about 3 or 4 tablespoons of sugar and begin to mix that up with the heat on. Keep stirring.
Do you do that just for, according to taste? Some people maybe wouldn't like it as sweet, so they wouldn't put as much sugar in it?
That's right, sister, yes. And this is very much according to taste. People ask, how do you do this? And I just keep tasting until I get the right taste. It's a sweet, sour taste. And
then you thicken it, of course, with the flour.
Yes,
water,
that's right, yes. Mm-hmm.
And while you're doing that, do you think you could tell me a little bit about the parish?
Of course, this parish of St. Mary's was founded in 1854. That's before Abraham Lincoln was president. So it's quite an old church. It's a Gothic-style church. Very, very beautiful inside. About 10 years ago, we renovated and highlighted some of the scroll work that's in the ceiling. Back when we renovated the church, we wanted to make a special receptacle for the holy oils. You know, the oil of the sick, oil of chrism, and the oil of catechumens. It's in a place called the Ambry. Interestingly, a parishioner made it out of the chestnut wood of the former organ that came from Sacred Heart Church. And I made the funnel of it in stained glass. So now we're ready to pour this over the dressing, and then we'll just mix it.
Oh, that looks very good. And then you serve it hot like that, with the dressing hot, or do you just let it cool down? Or it could be either way.
No, you don't want to serve this hot because it would wilt the lettuce too much.
Oh, I see.
Already this lettuce is going to wilt with the heat of this dressing. And that's why you probably don't want to pour it over ice cold lettuce, because you want to let that warm up maybe to room temperature before you put this over. Otherwise, it would congeal and it wouldn't be very tasty.
Now, would you put this in the refrigerator?
No. This should be eaten immediately.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Well, we're going to have to do just that. I understand that Sam Mancuso is going to be here. I'm going to go in and talk with him, and I understand that he's going to be in the other room. So you're going to join us at the table, aren't you, when we're finished with that?
Sure.
So I'll go in and talk to him for a while, and I'll see you at the table. Sam, tell me, how long have you been the DRE here at the parish?
In my 15th year as a DRE here.
But you're doing more than that, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been involved with the CYO for about 27 years, and we have a very active youth program.
What about your pantry? Now, I heard a lot about the pantry that you run.
Well, every Wednesday of the year, we hand out food to the needy, and the young people, the CYO, does all the work. They pack the bags, and we have a bunch of adult volunteers that do the intake and help out upstairs, and the CYO packs the bags downstairs.
I understand that you also have another program that's very successful here, and that's the Christmas baskets.
During Christmas, we have one of the largest distributions in the area, and I think last year we gave out 163 baskets, and that was almost 800 people. And there was a lot of food and gifts for every member of the family.
Well, you certainly are trying to educate the young people that they have responsibility for those who are in need. And that's a wonderful way to do that. Now, if someone who's watching the program is interested in what you're doing here in the parish and would like to get involved, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, the CYO meets every Sunday night of the year, and or they can come in on Wednesday afternoon between 3 and 4 is when we distribute the food to the needy and just help out. We always need more help.
Father, how about, just saying a brief grace, but would you do the saying the sign of the cross in German? I think that's appropriate for this German
Yes, I could.
gathering.
Im Namen des Vaters und des Sohnes und des Heiligen Geistes, Amen. Father, we ask your blessings upon this food and upon all of us, your Christian community, and on all the faithful. We ask you to bless all of us. Bless the poor who are among us. May we always reach out to them with caring hands and hearts. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen. Father, while we're eating the salad, maybe we could just pass the soup across so we can get to taste this too. I'm anxious to taste that. The salad is really delicious. Now I have to sample this dumpling. They stayed together pretty well, though, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. And if you want to add a little zing to it, a little horseradish. Very good.
Well, that's very good. That really is delicious. Just take another little taste. Well, you did wonderfully well, Father, and I'm really thrilled that we were invited to be here, and I thank you for your hospitality. And Sam, for talking about what you're doing here in the parish, which is really a wonderful model that you're giving to all the young people. That really is so important. That's our show for today. Our Daily Bread is a project of Daybreak TV Productions of the Catholic Diocese of Buffalo. If you're interested in learning more about the outreach program here at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton's in Dunkirk, just give them a call. They'll be delighted to hear from you. If you'd like a copy of Father's recipes, just drop us a line, give us a call, or check our website. Thank you so much for joining us. Prost.